Hello and welcome or welcome back. Is that, oh, that is in the way. Hold on. Let me get my life situated. Hopefully that'll stay. There we go. Welcome and welcome back. Welcome back. There we go. Wow. The clouds. Oh my goodness gravy. Oh my goodness me. Turn my car off. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. I cannot English today at all. The clouds have been so insanely gnarly recently. It's not even funny. They've been so pretty. Yesterday they were insane. My cousin and I, we take pictures of the clouds and we like send them to each other back and forth. And yesterday I got some good ones. And today they're doing the same things. They're like, this almost kind of looks like an atomic bomb went off and it's like the residue of the bomb, but it's even better because there's no bomb, but you still get that imagery. You know what I mean? That'd be kind of bad and terrible and traumatic if there was an actual bomb. And then, those people get the best view. They're in the sky, they're in a plane and they're going right past it. And then I like when the clouds kind of like look like a volcano, like it's erupting, and it kind of has like these like ruffles in them. It's really pretty. Anyway, it's okay. That's not the point of this video. I might be drinking a lot. I have what is this? From Dunkin', a kiwi watermelon like lemonade. It's hot here and my windows are down and I can turn my car on, but I just don't want it to mess up the audio. All right, no, I'm done. I'm gonna start talking about what I'm supposed to be talking about, or the point of this video, which the point of this video is something that I am very passionate about, and I've always been passionate about this ever since I was a kid. I think I am very passionate about it because I don't want to say a victim, but I've gone through and I've suffered from this, and I've been through it and still go through the effects of this, which is, abuse and like childhood trauma / just trauma. It's always been a big thing in my life because of how it affects me, but also I see how it affects others, and then also like I would never want especially my kids. I don't have kids currently, but if I did have kids, or if I were to have kids, I'm not sure if that's in God's plans for me, but if I were to have kids, I would never want my kids to ever go through the same things that I have been through, or to see the things that I have seen, or worse, so yeah. And I think because I know the effects of it, and I have literally lived through it, that I am just like, I would never want to repeat that same cycle. So, when I was a kid, I promised myself that I would never have kids with somebody that I didn't feel would be a good father to my kids, to our kids. And yeah, it's one thing to get married and to bring that abuse upon yourself, to get married to someone that secretly you shouldn't be with, but because of your circumstances and different things, and the way that sometimes our brain gets rewired, you end up with the person that you're not supposed to be with, and someone that's really unhealthy for you. So it's one thing to make that decision for yourself, but it's a whole other thing, and I'm not encouraging that at all. I'm a big advocate for like healthy relationships and healthy families, but what I'm saying is, it's one thing to do that to yourself, to a party of one, but it's a whole other thing to like bring kids into it. you know, individuals that have no choice and that have no say, and to bring that into that situation is terrible. You know, for you to be in that situation is also terrible, but to bring an innocent party in is awful too. So I have always been extremely big on that, and I promised myself that as a little kid, I'm like, I am not going to have kids, even if I end up with someone that is a terrible person, somehow, some way, I end up with somebody and whatever, I'm like, I'm not having kids with this person. Not that I wanted myself to end up with somebody, but I'm just saying, like, I would never have kids. Voluntarily, of course. Ooh, they're expanding. Okay. So, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, and I might I might share a little bit. I'm not really sure where I'm gonna go. I asked the Holy Spirit to completely guide me and lead me in this conversation. Yeah. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So I was listening to a podcast. It was a conversation, and oh my gosh. Okay. With Carl Lentz and Dr. Amen. I know Carl Lentz. He was in a big controversy recently. Oh, I don't know. I forget how long ago. It's been a couple years. So yeah. It's on the B-side YouTube channel. So I know some people might hear the name Carl Lentz and completely be like, oh, I'm not watching anything with him in it. I still encourage you to go and listen to that episode. I totally understand, you know, the different opinions. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. But I always encourage people to, you know, like, not let, how do I word that? I just feel like when people, sometimes you should definitely say no. Like, I'm not saying, you know, to never say no, but I feel like sometimes people miss a lot of things because they're like, no, I'm not doing that. No. You know, that conversation had a lot of good information in it, and it was very educational and very affirming, and yeah, do with it as you will. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. If you do. You don't necessarily have to support anyone. You're just literally listening for educational purposes. It's a good conversation. I encourage it. So yeah, I'm not touching on that topic, and I don't want to. I'm sure that they've heard it all, and I don't need to add to it. So I'm just leaving it at that and moving forward. So Dr. Amen, I've heard of him. I've heard of him before this episode, and I heard of him years ago, and I thought that he was super intriguing to me because he is I don't know if he calls himself a psychiatrist. I don't know exactly what he calls himself, but he's really famous for these brain scans. And so I remember him, like, years ago, I was watching something and he was saying something like, you know, like, when you go to the doctor and you say, like, it's like something's wrong with you, like, so maybe you have like a stomach, you've had you had stomach pain for the past couple weeks, you know, they're going to want to do like imaging in your stomach. They're going to want to call for an ultrasound. Or if like something, you know, your wrist or your knee or your back, your spine, whatever, they're going to call for images on whatever body part is causing you pain or discomfort, you know, unless it's like something that's just really topical. But if it's something that's internal, then they want to see what's going on internally, you know. But when it comes to your brain, you know, you go to a psychiatrist and, you know, you basically tell them your symptoms, and then they diagnose you, and then they treat you, they give you medication, you know? And he's like, he was like, well, why is that any different? Why are we not, you know, taking images of people's brains so that we can know what's going on internally as well? Being that your brain is 100% extremely important, especially when it comes to like your like anxiety, depression, your mood swings, all these different things that like that happen within you, like to view imaging of your brain is extremely important. And he was saying, you know, I think it was his like 9-year-old nephew. I mean, I think he's older now, but when his nephew was like 9 years old, he was, if you watch the episode, then you'll know exactly what happened. I believe he said that his nephew was like being aggressive to like another girl like around his age, just like really acting out in that way, and then like drawing like really disturbing pictures, and Dr. Amen was like, okay, well, he needs to come in and see me, and like I'm gonna get images of his brain. Found out that he had a cyst the size of a golf ball in his brain, and when they removed it, he got a lot better. So it's like, if you don't take, I'm not saying that every single time that you you suffer from like intrusive thoughts, or if you have anxiety and depression and all these different things, that there's going to be something in your brain, you know, like a physical thing, but that could be the case. And yeah, like we don't like have images of our brain. And I always thought that was so weird. I'm like, how does psychiatrists really know what you actually have? Because if I tell a psychiatrist my symptoms, I'm like, when I go down the list of symptoms of different mental illnesses, I'm like, I have about 4,000 of them. Like, I could be diagnosed with anything at this point. How do they know for sure? I have a lot of symptoms, like similar symptoms to a lot of different disorders. I'm like, I can check off. It's like, I forget how many you need to hit for. Is it like 5 or 6? I don't know. I'm like, I can look at so many disorders and I could check off multiple of the symptoms, you know? So it's like, how do you really know? How can you be completely confident? I think sometimes you can be confident, but I also think like, how can you like, I don't know. It's always, I don't know. Anyways, so he's always intrigued me because of these brain scans that he does. It is very hot. It's like getting hotter. I might need to turn the car on because it's really hot right now. It's the humidity that is like, but so going back to the childhood trauma, he said this thing, and I wish I could find exactly where he said it, looked like the timestamp, but he was like, you know, when you have gone through traumatic situations, your brain starts to become wired to think, you know, and to look for what can go wrong. And it's on constant alert of what can go wrong, you know, instead of like, oh, what can go right? It's what can go wrong. So therefore, obviously, you know, your trauma plays a huge part in, oh, wow. That was cool. There's lightning. Wow, that was really cool. I wish I got that on camera. That was so cool. Anyways, it was a lightning strike in yeah, that was cool. Anyways, okay. Your trauma plays a big part in, you know, how you think, and it like rewires your brain. And so, yeah, that's why I've always been like extremely aware and passionate about this, because you know, when it comes to childhood, I think a lot of the times parents, not all of them, but I hear this a lot, this saying of, well, did you starve? Did you, did you go to school naked, or did you go to school with, raggedy, dirty clothes? Did you go to school with dirty, raggedy shoes with holes in them? Did you have shelter? Did you live outside? A lot of like, because that was like also kind of like my upbringing, where it's like, as long as you had food in your stomach, as long as you had a roof over your head, as long as you had shoes on your feet, and as long as you had, something to drink, and your hair was done, you had a good childhood. And that is not what parenting is. Now, that is a part of parenting, but it's not 100% of parenting. That is like the basics of I mean, it's a big part, but that's like, that's a part of parenting. You're the one that that brought that child into the world. You made a conscious decision to have sex, and well, not everybody. Okay, I know some people, like, there's different situations where like they were using a contraceptive and then something happened. I'm not talking, I'm not saying that did happen, that you should just neglect your children either. But yeah, it's like, you brought that child that didn't ask to be here. Now that's your responsibility. So yes, you need to feed the child. Yes, you need to provide for it. Hopefully, it'll have some type of shelter and clothes, food, drink, shoes, but parenthood is also like nurturing is a part of it, and love is a part of it, connection, and also teaching them lessons, and also just being able to allow and provide a space of safety. And I feel like that is extremely, it's like, it's rare, but it's I feel like I see it more often, but I feel like I don't. Like, it's like I see it, but I don't. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends on where I'm at. And it also depends on the parents' upbringing too. When you were raised a certain way, you tend to kind of raise up your kids in a similar way, or the same way that you were raised, or maybe it's a little bit better for them, but you're still inflicting like similar traumas and different experiences. I'm not like using the word trauma as lightly, you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about like legitimate trauma. So yeah, and like I said, because I still am going through different things since I was a kid, and things still come up for me since I was a kid. It really does. And I think that it's so important to like remind ourselves that, especially when you become a parent, this stuff really does stick with you. Now, I'm not saying that, I 100% believe in the ability to rewire your brain. Obviously, like, allowing the Holy Spirit to help and transform your mind and to come into your life and to like do his work in your mind and your whole entire life. I don't believe that just because you grew up a certain way that you need to stay a certain way. I do believe that you can change, and but I know that it is extremely hard, and sometimes the road looks very lonely. Sometimes it can be a long, lonely road to that healing, and it can feel like forever. And so I'm speaking from a place of just being on that journey and the journey. And having to constantly, scrape myself up, or God literally scrapes me up off the ground and picks me back up, and back on my feet, just to sometimes go back down again. And so yeah, I think it's extremely hard, but I just want to tell everyone that has experienced this to give yourself some grace. Now I hear that all the time, where, because I suffer from PMDD, so that really does like mess with my psyche, and it really does it's a mess. It's seriously just a mess when I start to PMS, and it literally, it's like PMS on literal crack. I am gonna turn my car on just for a little bit, because now my phone is overheating. So hopefully, is it gonna move, or is it gonna be okay? Turn this down. Is it moving or no? The camera. I think we're good. Okay. Here, let me put it on. Okay. Is that up front? I think that is. You're gonna hear my car going off a little bit. It's gonna be okay. Okay. I don't know where I left off. Oh, I have heard it so many times. Give yourself some grace. I am like, how do I do that? How do I do that? I don't understand. But I get it. It's like, in the moment I don't get it, but when I'm out of it, I do. And grace is really needed, especially when you kind of start to feel yourself backtracking a little bit, which will happen. Or I don't want to push anything on anybody, but it can happen, and it's most likely to happen for most people. When you feel like you're taking 3 steps forward and 4 steps back, and you're like, you just feel like you feel hopeless. And I wish I was coming from a place where I could say I'm out of it, completely out of it. I'm coming from a place where I'm living it, and I'm walking in it on a daily basis, where I have to really be extremely conscious of my emotions. So what's been helping me is, like I just said, being very conscious and aware of myself, and aware of my feelings, and aware of my emotions. I know that sounds like hippy dippy crap, awareness, what, but I don't mean awareness as in this whatever. I feel like different terms are I don't know, a term is a flippin' term, and I hate how different terms are associated with different beliefs, like energy, and these different buzz terms that season. A season is, I'm just going through a singleness season, or whatever, I don't know, that's a Christian term, that's so there's different terms that go with different beliefs and different belief systems. But being aware of your emotions, and aware of your feelings, and aware of your moods is very important, because when you are aware of these things, it's a little bit easier to kind of manage them and to work through them, but also to change them. So if I can, and if I'm able to, be super aware when I'm feeling some type of emotion rising up in me, and pinpoint that emotion, and then pinpoint what is causing me to feel that way, and then forcing myself to do something. If I'm feeling anxious about asking a question, or if I'm feeling anxious about just talking to someone, or if I'm feeling anxious about going somewhere, or whatever it might be, or if I'm feeling some type of depression, or if I'm feeling a mood swing, or if I'm feeling angry, or if I'm feeling jealous, if I'm feeling frustrated or irritated, like being able to be aware of that and then correct it. And I'm not a perfect person. I don't always do that, and I don't always correct it, and I'm not always aware of it. Sometimes I let my emotions ride out even though I know I shouldn't. Sometimes I'm aware of it and I don't correct it. But I feel like awareness is a big point, because when I wasn't aware, then I would just let it ride it out and I would just wallow in that emotion and I really wouldn't know what to do with it. But when I'm aware of it, then I can say, okay, you need to change this around. You need to start thinking differently. It sounds easier, like it's easier said than done. Just start thinking differently, you know. But like I know, I tell myself like I need to correct this. This emotion and this whatever I'm feeling is not serving me, and nothing good is going to come from this when I'm like this, you know. It's not going to be beneficial for me. It's not going to be beneficial for, you know, any of my friendships, any relationships, my relationship with God. It's not going to be beneficial. I mean, the only benefit would be like prayer, like me getting closer to God in prayer, praying for it. But if I just wallow in it, I just stay in it, it's not going to be beneficial for anybody, all parties involved. Also, like I said, in prayer, another thing that helps me is just praying over myself, and prayer for myself, praying for specific things. Also, you know, finding people that have been through similar situations, or like what's it called, like being able to, like, if you have any close friends or family that you can talk to, or a counselor or a therapist, that you can kind of like get these emotions out so that they're not all like overflowing inside of you and they just kind of don't know where to go because they're just trapped inside. You know, finding someone to help you to work through different emotions so that you're not suppressing them is a huge benefit. And like I said, I'm not speaking, I wish I was coming from a place of like, I'm healed and I feel so much better and I've mastered controlling my emotions. I have mastered controlling my thoughts and making my thoughts submit to Christ, you know. I have mastered, you know, I'm healed and I'm so much better, and I never struggle with anxiety. I never struggle with depression. You know those people that are like I prayed and people prayed over me and I very rarely struggle from anxiety and depression. I'm not one of those girls. I'm not saying that I never will be, but right now I'm not. So it's coming from a place of I'm walking through it. I am not perfect. I am on this journey and journey to the goal is healing, you know. The goal is healing, or the goal is some kind of relief from these different things that I have to go through. But the goal is to get there. And to me, as long as you're living, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're alive, then there's still some type of hope, you know. The only time that there's no hope is when you have no lungs, no air in your lungs. So that's how I think, right? But yeah, there's a reason, you know, why you are thinking. And if you don't know, I think sometimes it is hard to kind of pinpoint like what's causing these different things. That's why I say like to talk to someone about it. And I know therapy can be a little bit scary. Like, not that I don't encourage therapy, I like it, but you kind of just have to find the right person that it will actually help you, so that it doesn't turn into you just like reliving all these situations over and over and over again, and then you're just talking about these situations and you're just like constantly talking about it, so then in turn you're not really healing. I found myself a lot of times in therapy, I'm just kind of like, all it is like me venting. I'm just venting, and venting is good, but I want to receive. I want to receive some information and some tips and some exercises so that I can know what to do when these emotions pop up, and when I start to feel like this, and when I start to go through these different things that I am feeling, you know. So yeah, I think it takes a specific type of therapist or counselor. Also, like, people in your circle, people in your church. I've really been wanting to like join a group outside of, not necessarily outside of my church, but outside of my church and outside of people that I already know. I have a tendency, a lot of things stem from my upbringing. So I grew up in a very fear-based environment where fear was very big in my life. And yeah, so because that was instilled into me as a kid, I bring that, unfortunately, you know, the things that were instilled into us as a kid, we bring into our adulthood. It's not just like, oh, once you reach adulthood, your slate gets wiped clean. Imagine how great would that be if our slate got wiped clean as soon as you hit 18. That rhymed. But like, as soon as you hit 18, you're good. Like, all that stuff is gone. You're done, okay? Your childhood trauma, gone, wiped away. Now you start fresh at 18. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, not for all of us, and not necessarily for me, because I was still going through a lot of stuff when I was 18 up until like 20s. So, but I think it would have been a lot better, because I think it was a little better when it was 18, around that age. But it's not like that, unfortunately. Like, we bring these different things and these different mindsets and these different traumas that we have experienced from our, you know, our childhood, from our young adulthood into our actual like adulthood and adult life. So yeah, I forget what I was saying and where I was going with that, but I hope to be able to one day, you know, make a video where I'm like, I feel like I'm at a place, like I always hear, like, you know, and it's really refreshing to me when I hear that, when people tell me, like, you know, when I reached this age, like, I just stopped caring. When I reached this age, you know, I was so sure of myself. I was so sure of who I was. It no longer mattered to me, you know, what anyone else thought of me, or how people viewed me, or like I wasn't embarrassed as much for different things. Like, you know, they were just like, I felt so settled, you know, within myself, and I absolutely love that. And I feel like that gives me hope. But I really hope to be able to like make a video one day and be like, I finally, no, I don't think I'm gonna be completely healed. I don't believe in like entire healing until we get to heaven, but I do believe in like I do believe in healing. But I think that there might be certain things that do pop up into your mind. But now that you're in a different place in your life, you know how to handle it better. You know what to do with these emotions better than you did, you know, years ago. So yeah, I know this is kind of like all over the place, but just know, if anyone else is like struggling with this and they kind of are like, I don't really know what to do, with these emotions and these different feelings, sometimes, like, just know that you're absolutely not alone, you know, because it kind of can seem like when you look around at everyone else, it looks like everybody else is kind of like they have their stuff together, which they don't. They just struggle in different areas. I mean, some of them do, some people do, but you know, no one has it completely together. We don't come into life, you know, having all the answers and knowing everything and having it all together. There's always going to be something that needs to be learned, something that needs to be figured out. You're gonna be confused. You're not gonna know which way to go, you know. There's always going to be different things, and some people are better at it than others, but just know that you're not alone, you know. Just know that you're not alone. And I pray that, you know, God places someone in your life and brings you some type of hope and healing, and whether that someone be, you know, a counselor or a therapist or a friend or someone in your church or a random stranger that you meet and they just were brought into your life just to really, for you guys to be there for each other. Whatever the case may be, I hope that you know, find healing through God, through different experiences in this lifetime, through books, through emotional work, and incorporating different habits into your life. And I pray that, you know, you do not put your trauma onto your kids, that before you have kids that you're able to work through your different the issues that you've gone through, so that when you do have your children, or even if you do have kids, that you continue to work on yourself so that you can correct your behavior, so that doesn't get instilled within your kids, and into your marriage and into your friendships, because it's hard. It's really hard. It can be really hard to maintain different relationships and different, you know, whether that's like friendships or marriages or, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend or your children. It's extremely hard when your mental health is not all there. It's extremely hard to maintain that. So I pray for healing over that. And yeah, I think that's all I have for today. I know it was kind of like all over the place. I hope that I don't even know, but I hope something came across. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that is it. I'm going to read my Bible and just kind of enjoy the rest of this day, because I have to go to work tomorrow. But I'm so grateful for today, and I'm so grateful for this time. And yeah, alrighty, we'll be on this journey together. But like I said, I really hope I can kind of, like, you know, just with time and with God and with prayer and with different people in my life, that I can kind of like get into a better headspace. It just sometimes takes longer than you want it to, and it takes longer than you thought it would, you know. A lot of times we're like, oh well, I thought I'd be here by now. I thought I wouldn't have to be dealing with this still in my life at this age. But unfortunately, you are. And it just goes like that sometimes. I don't know why, but it just does. And yeah, like I said, have some sort of grace for yourself, you know, knowing that what you went through was not healthy and was not good and should have never happened. It literally does have an effect on your brain, and it has an effect on how you view other people and how you view different outcomes and different situations, and that it is extremely hard. It's extremely hard to change that, but just because it's extremely hard does not give you an excuse to stay in that. You know, sometimes in life we have to do extremely hard things. But when you do have days where you are taking some steps back, not intentionally, it's just happening, you know, to remind yourself you're going to be okay. Life is always fluctuating, you know. It kind of seems like in the moment it feels so concrete where you're at, and that you'll never go up again. And then, especially when you have mood swings, it feels so real in the moment. And then, you know, with your next mood swing, you're like, oh wow, I feel so much better. Oh my gosh, I wanted to kill myself 5 minutes ago, and now I'm on top of the world. Like, you know. So Dr. Amen was like, yeah, he has this thing, the ants, I forget, but he's like, don't believe every stupid thought that you have or whatever that pops into your brain. You know, don't believe every single thought that pops into your mind. You know, you're gonna have thousands of thoughts per day, and not every single one of them is gonna be beneficial or good or edifying or helpful to your life. So it's important to decipher which ones you need to get rid of, which ones you need to rebuke, which ones you need to hold on to and keep into your mind and in your life. And yeah, alrighty. Adios.